Welcome, friends and advocates from around the country to the 17th annual Headache on the Hill event. This is the main function of the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy, our congressional lobbying effort to improve policies and access to care with improved legislation. I'm very happy to be honored as your president, and I'm happy to also introduce our vice president, Annika Ehrlich, who will talk to you about our new 501c3 fundraising arm, the Headache Alliance, which we hope will propel our mission forward. Why are we here? We are here to encourage federal headache disorders advocacy efforts. Looking at the last 17 years, we are all proud to say that because of your efforts, we have changed policies, created new funding initiatives, and have built and continue to build relationships that will improve lives at every level of the headache community. Our mission from the get-go has been to provide more examples of equitable care, to eliminate stigma around headache disorders, to reduce healthcare disparities, increase diversity among providers, representatives of the headache community, and medical organizations. We are very proud once again to say that you represent probably all 50 states at this point. We will have at this particular event well over 275 advocates, of whom about 2/3 are returning, and we will be visiting more than 50% of congressional offices, which is a major accomplishment considering the size of this organization. Overall, only 5% of advocacy groups that come to Federal Hill reach a goal of more than half of all congressional offices. That is a major achievement for which we have to thank all the efforts over the years of everyone involved in the AHDA. Why are we here? This all started with an analysis done by Bob Shapiro, one of the founders of AHDA, who, for his Palatucci project, to create an advocacy effort, did an analysis looking at the difference between NIH funding levels for research for a range of different diseases compared with the disease burden. Disease burden meaning how many people are affected by a given disease around the world and how much time or life do they lose to that disease. And here you see various analyses or plots showing the relationship between those. On the right-hand side, you see a couple of those are chosen, showing that, for example, digestive diseases, breast cancer, arthritis, and migraine, all with approximately the same burden on society, have dramatically different levels of funding in research through the National Institutes of Health, with migraine being funded overall about 10-fold lower than a comparable disease. That is something that we have struggled hard to address and continue to work to break down barriers to improve funding for research, because it is, of course, ultimately through new research and advances in understanding of the biology and the systems of care related to headache that we will improve access to care and outcomes overall. That's where it all began. The AHDA Board of Directors consists of an executive board that meets monthly and a full board that meets quarterly to plan strategy and identify opportunities. During the year, we pursue an increasing number of opportunities between federal funding initiatives, new and updated policies, new rulings, regulations, and interpretations that come out at unpredictable times throughout the year. And then we issue calls to action, which means you will receive emails and sometimes even a phone call to jump on, to sign on to various advocacy initiatives that present themselves throughout the year. Typically for Headache on the Hill, we choose 2 or 3 main themes or what are called asks that we will describe later, to present to various members of Congress every year. Some of our member organizations are represented here and represent the full spectrum of patient-led and medical organizations that relate to headache advocacy, from Miles for Migraine to the Alliance for Patient Access to the American Headache Society or National Headache Foundation and others. All of these have a long tradition of providing advocacy for headache disorders of various kinds. And now I will introduce again Annika Ehrlich, who will describe to you our new fundraising arm, the Headache Alliance.
Thanks so much, Chris. So this year has been a really exciting year for the AHDA. We decided to form a new 501c3 arm. And we know that migraine and other headache disorders, they're the second leading cause of global disability. And as Chris was saying, our government policies and priorities really fail to recognize the gravity of the situation and the amount of funding that is given to these disorders. So for nearly 2 decades, AHDA has been at the forefront of federal headache advocacy, but our 501c6 status was limiting our reach and potential impact a bit. So what we did in 2023, in order to maximize our advocacy efforts and expand fundraising capacity, we incorporated the Headache Alliance. This is a 501c3 sister organization that is going to support and be complementary to the work of the AHDA. And there's many organizations that work this way, where they have a 501c3 arm to support it, like the ACLU, the Sierra Club, etc. And the mission of the Headache Alliance is going to be to improve the quality of life of those living with headache disorders through patient and provider education, advocacy, and early stage research. So AHDA is focused on securing equitable legislative and regulatory policies across headache disorders. And the Headache Alliance is going to do more work to train advocates, educate the public about policy issues, fundraise in support of new grant programs for research, and encourage greater participation in advocacy and headache medicine. So these are all activities that the Headache Alliance is going to engage in, and also cultivate relationships with new stakeholders to grow our community. This is our current interim board. I'm very happy to be leading these efforts along with Dr. Amal Starling, Dr. Stephanie Nahas, and Alex Doty. But we are looking for volunteers who have experience in fundraising and development, health equity, patient advocates, community representatives, or maybe even other disease states that have common goals. If you're interested in helping us and serving on our board, please reach out and talk to me at Headache on the Hill. I'm very happy to speak to you about it, or you can reach out and send an email to our executive director, Julianne Verdi.
Super. Speaking of Julianne, here's a quick summary of the online discussions or presentations that will be available to you in preparation for Headache on the Hill, starting with an introduction to the legislative process by Julianne, our executive director, and then something about preparing your personal story, which is a key feature of advocacy, by our former executive committee member, Jill DeLynn. What to expect for an in-person Headache on the Hill with Hallie Koch, and then streamlining advocacy as well as preparing for follow-up using our Google Drive presented by Julianne. And then an important new initiative, which is getting your story told by the press, presented by James Quealy. We will then have 2 live sessions. There will probably be 2 different sessions in preparation for the Headache on the Hill event, where we will review presenting the specific asks for this year's, as well as using the Advocacy Associates website and app for identifying and joining your various congressional meetings, a walkthrough and practice sessions of typical congressional sessions. And then after the event, we will have a live post Heading on the Hill debriefing to review our feedback, our responses, and our plan for further efforts for the rest of the year. So that's a quick summary of what will be available to you. Some of these for returning veterans are presentations that you've seen before. Some are new. I encourage you to take a look at all of them, as they will add to your sense of understanding and preparation for the event itself. The full impact of what we're doing here can be simply stated that your voice matters. It is an extraordinarily powerful experience to actually come to Congress and express your concerns with the members of Congress and their various legislative directors, because they are there for that purpose. This is how our democracy works in action. You show up and inform people about how this will affect you and those you care about. And certainly our efforts and other advocacy groups like ours have proven that together these efforts have a significant impact. And we have definitely shown that over time, showing up will move mountains. We wouldn't have what we have currently if it weren't for these efforts, and we look forward to more and more examples of the same in the future, thanks to you. So, on behalf of the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy and the Headache Alliance, we look forward to seeing you at Headache on the Hill. Thank you, thank each other, thank the staffers that you meet, and remember, showing up means you will keep making a difference.